Signs of low estrogen in women. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the characteristic skin changes of low estrogen or estrogen deficient skin, how declining estrogen levels in women lead to skin, hair, and nail changes. Estrogen is a hormone. It's commonly referred to as the female sex hormone. However, it plays a role in a variety of different functions throughout the body, and both men and women have estrogens. Now, in women of reproductive age, the ovaries are the primary source of estrogen production. However, peripheral tissues, like our skin, also can produce estrogen via the action of an enzyme known as aromatase that actually converts androgen hormones like testosterone to estrogen, and this happens in both men and women. Menopause is defined as going a full year with no menstrual period due to failure of the ovary to produce estrogen. And at that point moving forward, the peripheral tissues are the main source of estrogen production in women. Women experience many changes with the onset of menopause and the decline in estrogen levels. It plays a key role in a variety of functions and is really important for controlling and regulating many processes that happen in our skin. It influences the biology of all different cells in our skin, the keratinocytes that comprise the epidermis, the fibroblasts that make collagen, elastin tissue in the deeper layers of the skin. When we think about skin aging, a lot of the focus is around collagen production in the deeper layers of the skin. However, with age, especially with menopause and the decline in estrogen in the skin, you experience thinning of the epidermis. That's the top part of the skin that's comprised of keratinocytes whose biology is very much influenced by estrogens. Down in the deeper layers of the skin, of course, there is less collagen production. This is a contributing factor to the appearance of wrinkles. It's normal for us to lose about 1% of collagen each year starting in our 20s. Under the microscope, that starts to become obvious around our 30s. But for women, there's a huge drop-off with menopause due to loss of that estrogen signal for healthy collagen production. These changes are going to be most striking in areas where you've had a lot of sun exposure because ultraviolet radiation from the sun also damages our collagen. You also experience a decline in skin elasticity, snap, recoil, the ability of the skin to recover from deformation. If you take the skin on the back of your hand and you pinch it up and let it go. With menopause, it's going to take 3 to 4 times longer for that skin to return to normal. Here's something people don't talk enough about. Estrogen is actually really important in wound healing. Healing from cuts, scrapes, surgeries. Estrogen plays a vital role in all phases of the wound healing process. The inflammatory phase, when the immune system comes in and cleans up the damage. The proliferative phase, where new healthy skin cells come in to fill in that wound. And the remodeling phase, where the skin is getting strong and being sort of built back together, if you will, from underneath. Estrogen is important for all 3 of these processes. There is a slowing down and impairment in wound healing. It is not as robust as it once was. This is important because it means that you have to take extra care of any cuts and scrapes that you get. You have to be mindful of how you care for wounds after a surgical procedure. With the slowing down of wound healing in estrogen deficient skin, it makes you more vulnerable to skin infections that further slow down the wound healing process. Not only is the skin thinner in the epidermis, not only do you have a decline in the supportive framework of the dermis, but you also have a decline in the ability to retain moisture within the skin, leading to skin dryness. This is due to a decline in production of hyaluronic acid, a hygroscopic compound that helps hydrate the skin, as well as a decline in production of glycosaminoglycans and the components of the skin barrier. So the skin becomes more vulnerable to transepidermal water loss, leading to dryness. This also renders the skin a lot more vulnerable to irritation as it allows better penetration of, well, irritating things into the skin. Estrogen actually has a cytoprotective effect against oxidative stress. When you're exposed to environmental aggressors, this generates the production of reactive oxygen species that damage the DNA in our skin cells, as well as damage protein and lipids, create an inflammatory cascade. No environmental aggressor illustrates this quite like ultraviolet radiation, but of course we're exposed to other things throughout our day like pollution, infrared radiation that likewise generate reactive oxygen species in the skin. So with that loss of the cytoprotective effects against reactive oxygen species from estrogens, it's really important to be mindful of the fact that with menopause, your skin is not able to handle the damaging effects of ultraviolet radiation as robust robustly as it once was. Now, of course, everyone across all generations needs to be mindful of their sun exposure and protect their skin from ultraviolet radiation. However, with age, our ability to recover from the damaging effects of ultraviolet radiation declines, and a big part of that in women is the estrogen deficient state of the skin, and you lose that cytoprotective effect of estrogen against reactive oxygen species that damage collagen further, not only exacerbating wrinkles, but damaging the ability of our skin to recover the cellular damage to our DNA, and also renders the epidermis a bit abnormal in its turnover processes, leading to the buildup of dry, rough skin texture. Some women actually experience acne breakouts with menopause. This isn't across the board, but with the decline in estrogen, you may have more androgen signaling going on at the level of the oil gland, leading to, well, acne breakouts. Acne can affect you at any age. Another way in which estrogen deficiency in the skin leads to a meaningful change is in its effects on vascularity, the blood supply, the blood flow, the formation of new healthy blood vessels. That declines as estrogen levels decline. Not only the formation of blood vessels, but also their quality, their integrity. Blood vessels are a lot more fragile with age and with decline in collagen production. And this is important because not only does it play a role in slower wound healing because you don't have that optimal delivery of healthy growth factors to come in as part of the wound healing process, but you also have fragile blood vessels that are leaky. Therefore, you're a lot more vulnerable to bruising. And this is obvious, especially on the backs of the hands. The backs of the hands are territory that sees a lot of ultraviolet radiation exposure throughout our lifetime. So there's a lot of cumulative damage there because of that. Throw in estrogen deficiency, and you have a situation where you may become more vulnerable to getting bruising on the backs of your hands that is quite slow to heal. Along with these changes, you might expect increased skin fragility. Estrogen plays a key role in the production of something called estrogen, which is necessary for good junctions between the cells of our epidermis. So the skin is a lot more fragile, more vulnerable to tearing. That skin fragility is at baseline going to be more of an issue on certain locations compared to other, like the backs of the hands, for example. Something a lot of women note with menopause is they notice that they all of a sudden have enlarged pores. And here's why that happens. Remember what I said about estrogen and how important it is for getting good collagen production, because it signals to those fibroblast cells to make healthy collagen, and a lot of that declines as estrogen levels drop. Well, because you lose that supportive framework around the pore and the deeper layers of the skin, what does it have to do but dilate, making pore size appear larger to the eye? Couple that with the fact that the epidermis is more vulnerable to water loss, to dryness. Well, as the skin around the pore is drier, there's less water content there. That pore is going to become even more obvious. Plus, you may develop commonly abnormalities in skin cell turnover of the epidermis, normal for that to happen with age and sun damage and decline in estrogen. And so you get a buildup of kind of dry, rough skin, and that can contribute to blackhead formation, clogging of those pores as the cells lining the pore are just not turning over and maturing like they once did. Estrogen deficiency doesn't just impact the skin, but also the hair growth cycle. It's very common for women to start experiencing thinning of the hair, and they may have the onset of what's known as androgenetic alopecia or pattern hair loss. Now, this can happen much earlier than menopause, but it may be more of an issue as you go through menopause and thereafter, because estrogen plays a key role in the hair growth cycle. Your hair may become not only thinner, sparser, you may see your scalp more readily, but also the hair strands themselves are a lot more vulnerable to breakage. They become brittle. The texture of your hair may change. Speaking of brittle nail syndrome. This is characterized by those ridges of the nail and a susceptibility to splitting of the nails. A lot of this has to do with the decline in healthy collagen production for the nails, as well as production of proteins from those keratinocyte cells. The skin around the nail folds, are more vulnerable to dryness as well, and that can impact the integrity of the structures around the nail that help protect the nail matrix, the part of the nail that grows the nail plate. All right, so those are some of the main findings of estrogen deficient skin, which is a normal thing with menopause. The skin can be described as estrogen deficient. So what can you do about this? Well, you may choose to do nothing. That's okay. okay, many women, after talking to their doctor, may choose to go on hormone replacement therapy. Hormone replacement therapy can reverse some of these changes, such as the loss of collagen, the wrinkles, such as skin dryness, skin fragility. Skin elasticity can improve. You may note an improvement in hair density and thickness, and you may note that your nails are stronger and not brittle. However, hormone replacement therapy is not right for everyone. So definitely something to discuss with your doctor, your gynecologist. What about applying estrogen to the skin? There is a small amount of research that supports the role of topical estrogen in reversing some of the changes that occur with estrogen deficiency in the skin, such as skin dryness, fragility, wrinkles. Topical estrogen for reversing these changes is not super well studied in terms of the long-term effects, but it can reverse the fragility, the dryness, the crepiness. It's not going to be right for everyone. This is another thing to perhaps talk with your gynecologist about. I can't tell you if this is right for you, but it is an option, and many women do find a lot of benefit in using a topical estrogen cream or gel, for example. Alternatively, there are cosmeceuticals that are phytoestrogens. These can be described as selective estrogen receptor modulators. These come from botanic extracts. They include ingredients like isoflavones, genistein, and there's some evidence also for resveratrol. There's very limited research on this specifically for estrogen deficient skin, but what we do have is some evidence suggesting that it may help with improving skin hydration, dryness, skin fragility, as well as wrinkles. But we don't have a lot of studies comparing these ingredients to a placebo control cream, so it's difficult to predict to what extent these things will reverse these changes. Now, it's important to point out at this point that hormone replacement therapy, estrogen applied topically, and phytoestrogen cosmeceuticals, while they may help reverse some of the signs of estrogen deficient skin, they will not change sun damage. So keep that in mind. For example, if you have a lot of wrinkles and sun damage, estrogen is not going to correct that. That is damage that has occurred from ultraviolet radiation. One of the other things I would advise anyone at any life stage, but especially with estrogen deficient skin, is to embrace regular moisturizing. It's boring, but it can definitely help you out tremendously, and you're probably already doing it if this is something you're experiencing, because the dryness can be very uncomfortable. But think of moisturizers as kind of a second skin. They help reduce transepidermal water loss, which is going to be more of an issue if you have estrogen deficient skin. They help lubricate the skin surface, reducing pressures on the skin that might lead to tearing. They also help with moisture retention, and ultimately that has a temporary plumping effect, smoothing out little fine lines and wrinkles. Moisturizers with alpha hydroxy acids may help improve collagen production, specifically 12% or higher lactic acid, such as what is found in amlactin lotion. I've talked about this in several videos, such as my video on how to reverse crepey skin and my video on how to reverse skin thinning. But this is a relatively inexpensive, generally well-tolerated lotion that you could apply to the skin that not only can help improve the thickness of the epidermis, which declines with age and with menopause and with estrogen deficiency, but also can tackle the dermis and improve dermal thickness. Speaking of improving dermal thickness and epidermal thickness, you also have topical retinoids like tretinoin, tazarotene, trifarotene, adapalene, or you may elect to use a cosmeceutical active form of vitamin A like retinol, OL, or retinaldehyde. Now, I have lots of videos on my channel about these ingredients. Definitely check them out, but they can help you out in terms of some of the changes that happen with estrogen deficient skin. Now, there are a variety of cosmetic procedures out there that can help stimulate collagen production in the deeper layers of the skin. Certain laser treatments, certain chemical peels, and energy-based devices. At home, there is low-level laser therapy with red and near-infrared light. These work to stimulate the fibroblasts in the deeper layers of the skin to make new healthy collagen. They also help to reduce some of that inflammation, which is going to be a greater issue because, again, decline in estrogen, less support in terms of cell protection from environmental aggressors and reactive oxygen species. species, leading to more inflammation in the skin. And red and near-infrared phototherapy, low-level laser therapy can mitigate that. Also can help improve circulation to the skin, blood flow, improving skin radiance, and helping with the issues of delivering healthy growth factors that decline as estrogen levels drop off. But I cannot emphasize this enough. While it's important at all life stages to protect your skin from the sun, it's really important in the setting of estrogen deficiency with mature skin because a lot of the defenses against ultraviolet radiation are not quite as robust as they once were, like, for example, wound healing, recovery, also our ability to handle reactive oxygen species. So protecting your skin from the sun is super important, especially if you do have a skin injury or you have undergone a surgery. Keep in mind that ultraviolet radiation slows down healing. All right, guys, that's what I wanted to talk about for today's video with regards to the signs of estrogen deficiency in the skin. I really hope this was informative to you. On the end slide, I'm actually going to link my video on topical estrogen cream, so make sure you check that one out next if you want to learn more about what it has been shown to be helpful for. But if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye!